The cover art for books 20 through 50 was done by Jim Matthews. Unlike the other artists, he included Ned and Bess on book covers, and he kept them consistent. Good job. I just wish George was on a cover, or that Nancy didn't change from blonde to brunette to blonde again.
Argo Font Book Review, Argo Font Book Review.
The book begins with a barbecue for all of our teenage heroes. Nancy Drew, Ned Nickerson, Bess Marvin, and George Fame. Also, there are two other guys named Ken Hampton and Rick Williamson. I have no idea who they are, I've never heard of them before, and they never appear again, so I'm just gonna guess two random people wandered into Nancy's backyard to get food. Anyway, Ned burns the chicken, so he decides to sign them up for cooking classes at a 6-week international cooking school. That's clearly the only possible response to burning chicken at a barbecue. The school is run by Chef Claude Dupree, who barely has enough time to introduce himself before he's poisoned and collapses from a heart attack. The prime suspect is upstart chef Paul Slezak, who makes no secret about the fact he wants to run the school by himself. Nancy's class is taught by self-centered chef Trent Richards, but don't get used to this guy because his arm catches fire and he runs away. That makes two chefs that get attacked as soon as Nancy meets them. I suspect she is the culprit this time around. Nancy's new teacher is the handsome Jacques Bonnet, who gets extra close to her during classes. Ned is unhappy about this. Jacques asks Nancy out on a date. Ned is even more unhappy about this. Nancy turns Jacques down, so he tricks Bess into inviting him to a group dinner. He kisses Nancy on the hand and huskily whispers thanks. Ned finally loses his cool and tries to hit Jacques. I'm surprised Ned didn't do something earlier, to be honest. This Jacques guy is pretty bold to constantly hit on Nancy right in front of her boyfriend. But in Jacques' defense, he's like super hot. Nancy apologizes to Ned, and she explains that she can't push Jacques away too hard because he might be useful to the case. What case is that, Nancy? Nancy Drew in the case of the hot French boyfriend replacement? While the romance drama goes on, the mystery heats up on the back burner. Nancy overhears Trent and the culprit arguing over their profits, and Trent's corpse is later found in a freezer. Dupree says that there have been multiple attempts made on his life, and Slezak throws a major fit when he learns some of his recipes have been stolen. Then a shadowy attacker appears out of nowhere and starts strangling Nancy. She bites his hand while Bess and Ned attack from behind. Believe it or not, the 3-on-1 fight is a draw. The attacker knocks the teenagers down and casually leaves the area. Nancy tries to play it cool. She says, "Oh, he was just so fast, I didn't have time to use my judo." Yeah, right, Nancy, don't lie. You forgot you know karate. Just like every other time when culprits attack you. Nancy breaks into the school at night, only to be caught by Jacques. He forces her to go on a date with him in exchange for not telling anyone. The blackmail date is kind of bad, actually. Most of it gets skipped and it's less than a page long. Very disappointing, especially because we had a lot of build-up to this, and all the reviewers agree the romantic tension with jealous Ned is the best part of the book. I agree, because the rest of the book is pretty standard Nancy Drew Files fare. I mean, the culprit tries to kill Nancy with a cooking rack and an elevator, while Dupree and Slezak get into a fight over the stolen recipes. The teenage heroes discuss the case for a bit among themselves, and while that was kind of interesting, I had a hard time following the conversation because they kept switching between calling characters by their first names or last names. Just be consistent and always use one or the other, okay? Don't just switch between the two. You're making me think the book has more characters than it does. Things come to an end when Nancy breaks into the school, again, and she finds the stolen recipes inside Jacques' office. Turns out that Slezak is the culprit. He and his partner kidnap our heroes, then drive them into a lake. Luckily, the culprits don't understand the concept of waiting 30 seconds, so they don't notice when our heroes escape the truck and swim to safety. Actually, the book doesn't explain how the culprits leave the area. Maybe they had a second vehicle waiting for them? Because it takes our heroes a few hours to walk from the lake to the nearest civilization. Even though they're soaking wet and it's past midnight, none of them catch hypothermia. Nancy suddenly realizes, / guesses, that the culprit's target is a big dinner in Washington, D.C. She hurries there to warn Jacques, and it turns out Jacques is secretly a CIA agent. He is using the school as a cover to hit on teenage girls. To stop an international crime ring. A crime ring made up of chefs who hide political secrets inside their recipes. Sort of like this, 4 cups of sugar, 2 cups of flour, 3 tablespoons of a senator hiding bribes under the Lincoln Memorial at 2 p.m., 1 tablespoon vanilla. Nancy is inclined to believe Jacques for a while, until she sees that he has tooth marks on his hand. Nancy recognizes them as her tooth marks. I guess she has a unique bite. Anyway, this means Jacques is secretly a double agent because he's the man who attacked her earlier. Attacked her for no reason, I might add. I'm pretty sure the only reason he attacked her was so he could be wounded and recognized here at the end. Nancy runs up a flight of stairs to escape, but Jacques stops her with a gun. Ned enters the room and distracts Jacques, so Nancy can teleport to the bottom of the stairs and knock the gun away. Fueled by angry boyfriend rage, Ned easily beats up Jacques and saves the day. On the way home, Ned and Nancy flirt with each other, using chess metaphors like practicing for hours and performing moves on each other. Oh my, how scandalous. The end. Post-book follow-up. There is a minor continuity moment in this book. We briefly mentioned the senator from book 7. The last book also had a minor reference to a previous book. Sadly, I don't think this is the case of the editor being more continuity savvy. Editor Anne Greenberg. Hi, Anne. Hope you enjoy my review series. Please don't hate me like the editor for Nancy Drew Girl Detective. No, I think these minor continuity moments are a result of the same author writing multiple books. It's kind of fun for an author to throw in little references to the other books they wrote. I mean, when you're a ghostwriter, there's no other way to claim ownership of your books, right? Sadly, I can't see if my theory about multiple book authors is true or not, because the only multiple book authors we know of for this series are Susan and Bill Albert, who wrote books 6, 11, 15, 22, and 29. I was a little surprised by the Ned romance drama. Usually whenever Ned is extremely jealous, he's painted as a bad boyfriend, someone who's too possessive or untrusting. But this time, he was portrayed as being right on the money. Jacques was a sleaze who came on to Nancy, even though she made it clear she wasn't interested. Ned was justified in trying to get Jacques to back off. Even if Jacques hadn't been the culprit, Ned would have been right. I'm surprised. Jealous Ned is usually not the winner in these books. Overall, I thought this book was a pretty typical Nancy Drew Files book. I just thought, it's the same as every other book. I didn't think Chef School made for a very interesting setting, and it was kind of a bummer that Bess and George were in different classes than Nancy and Ned, so we didn't see much of them. But the story did go quickly. The jealous Ned storyline wasn't the best ever, but it was entertaining enough, and the plot twist of Jacques being a double agent villain was well done. The book felt a little rushed towards the end, but it was still enjoyable, even if it's sort of average. So I give Nancy Drew Files number 21, Recipe for Murder, a 7 out of 10.